Welcome to Zombie Popcorn Radio. This is January the 15th, 16th. This is the 16th show. This is Jason.
This is Josh.
And Paul is silent. I don't know what happened to him.
Paul,
he's here. There he is. So, we got a good show going for you tonight. We have a special guest with us now. Matthew from the Matthew Show. He's going to hang out with us for the show. We're going to talk to him, and he's going to play us some live music. First time ever that we've had on Zombie Popcorn is live music. I mean, actually...
I wish I had more songs about zombies, but I don't.
So, here we are. Welcome. So, I guess to start off, let's talk to Matt.
You want to give a brief introduction about it?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Go for it.
Are you okay? I've known Matt for, we went to high school together. We went middle school through high school.
Yeah, I went to junior high together.
And go ahead.
I was just saying, we were talking about guitar playing earlier. My most vivid memory of Mr. Bayless in junior high is him turning up his very loud acoustic or electric guitar and frightening the hell out of the attendees at the talent show that we had there at the junior high in, I guess, 7th grade. I think, I don't know, did they ban devil music after that?
They tried to ban me, I know.
Yeah. I have a memory of that. The shock and awe was palpable.
Yeah. I know a lot of people were mad at me on that.
I enjoyed it myself.
And so I guess because of that, not really, inspired you to take a life of music, huh?
That's right. From then on, I was hooked. There was no way. I was like, I want to be just like that guy. Yeah.
No, so
I kind of ended up going into music just because it was one of the only things that I was any good at all. So that's kind of how you end up doing these sorts of things. Because it certainly isn't the most lucrative line of work, but it is fun on the odd occasion.
I like to consider myself fairly good at doing music, but I'm here doing a fucking radio show about zombies.
Well, see, most people who are good
welcome
at music
to the club.
Most people who are good at music are actually busy doing something else most of the time, because it's only so much you can actually do and get paid for in the music club.
Right. Yet somehow.
It was actually my first year of being just a musician. I was usually a desk jockey of some kind, or a hoops scooper, or some sort of noble job like that.
Yeah, all the good musicians are at home, guys, and yet we have Britney Spears all over the radio.
Well, see, this is the thing, though. The industry is a very cruel beast, and so you kind of have to figure out some kind of way of getting around it, if at all possible. And the way that I've been doing it here lately is by circumventing the kind of the established music industry and doing online performance, which has been kind of been my bread and butter for the last year or so.
And that's definitely something I've been interested that you're doing. Could you play in Second Life? And
yeah.
you have a good following. In fact, the article that you showed me mentioned you because,
it's very funny because if I go and I play a show here in Dallas, I'll get a few people, and they tend to be family and friends. But I can go and play a show in Second Life and pretty good-sized crowd at a club there. And it's funny because those are people, each one of those people exists in meat space. They're actual human beings, but they're so spread out geographically. Like one of them's in Australia, one of them's in Canada, another one's in Alabama. And to be able to tour to reach all of those people would be a giant pain in the ass. So
and expensive.
And very expensive. But this is kind of a way where I can play to all of them at once and kind of build a little community where there might not have been one before.
Now,
of course,
I've played in a bunch of bands and stuff and whatnot, and I always loved playing live shows. It was like my thing.
Yeah.
Do you really enjoy doing live shows? But just this is the best way to get your music out.
Well, it's funny. It depends. I like audiences, but I hate clubs.
Yeah.
I find that clubs are kind of a real pain in the ass a lot of times to try to deal with, and so that was always the experience that I didn't like about playing live. But here you kind of bypass that by just going directly to the audience. I mean, the audience is there, and I get feedback from them just as much as I would at a meat space club, particularly because I don't have to hear them over all of the noise. They are typing on the screen as I'm going, so I can see what everyone's saying.
Yeah, I can definitely feel your pain and see how that would be a little bit better off. Because I love to play music and I love all the aspects of music, but I don't smoke, I don't drink, I hate loud, obnoxious people. So.
Yeah, right. Well, that's what I'm saying is that, here, if someone is drunk on Second Life, the worst that they're going to do is annoy people with their nonsensical ravings in the chat bar,
Right.
Whereas, if someone's drunk at a club, they can actually disrupt a lot of your set. So I think it's a way, for me, I feel like I'm connecting a little more with the audiences because they can get just a pure signal.
Right.
And I can get a pure signal back from them without all of the trappings of the... It takes some getting used to because, of course, you can't see them. I mean, you see the little graphical representation of them, but you don't actually see the flesh.
Right.
And so it takes a little bit of adjustment to realize, oh, that's a person, and they're talking to me as if we were in the same room together, even though they may be in wherever, Germany.
And more likely, the people in the room are there because they want to actually hear your performance, not because they want to pick up a girl.
Well, this is the deal. Is that clubs, as we all know in real life, you're there for generally one of two reasons: either to get drunk or to get laid. Yeah. And or possibly just to get seen in your fancy outfit with your brand name whatevers. And so
with your girl pants on that are tight as hell.
And and so this kind of takes a little bit of that out. There's still some posing, and there's assholes just like there are everywhere in the world, but it's not. It seems like it dilutes it a little bit by having a little more direct connection between people, I think.
Yeah,
But I'm a nerd, so that's.
Oh, and we're not just sitting here 3D video running.
Yeah, I like to go on, like, you being an acoustic guy, I don't know, have you heard of Iron and Wine?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I really dig Iron and Wine, and I actually get on and look for videos of him performing live and whatnot. I really like his songwriting and everything.
Oh, yeah.
But I got on there looking for videos, and, he's a real quiet performer. It's just him and a guitar majority of the time when he's doing solo shows. And I saw one on YouTube the other day, and it's a good video. You can hear the music very well. You can hear him singing, but you can also hear the people in the background just talking the whole time the guy's performing. And I'm like, are you not there to see this guy perform? I mean, shut the fuck up,
I ran sound for a show Charlie Sexton played here in Dallas, and he was playing a little soft acoustic song, and there was this lady in the front row that was just yappy, 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 yappy. And he went up to the front of the stage and just stood staring at her until she shut up. He wouldn't finish the song. And I understand that. I've tried to play little soft songs in some of these joints before, and people just do not give a shit. And I find that with online performance, if someone doesn't give a shit, they'll just change the channel.
Yeah.
They'll just go somewhere. And that helps to kind of filter your crowd a little bit without it being quite such a confrontational, thing. Like, you suck!
Play some Skinner.
Yeah, right. I mean, you will see that, but then you can mute them. So that's good.
Yeah, I think this was not last year, but year before last, the end of 2008. My wife and I went and saw Ben Folds here at the Norva, and he was playing with a band. He wasn't doing a solo show, but he does a solo segment. He does like 3 or 4 songs solo in the middle of his set.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is a real soft song. Fred Jones Part 2 is the name of it. But
Oh, that's yeah. I like the.
He just does that one all by himself, and just you could hear everybody talking while he's playing this song. He actually stopped. He actually stopped and he said, "Look, I can't even hear myself playing the piano. You people are talking so loud."
Yeah.
Awesome.
And he said, "You know, I mean."
Yeah, asshole.
No, I said that's awesome that he stopped him. No, he's not an asshole.
But I got online looking around, and actually the show before the one he did here, the people were talking so loud at that one that he cut his set short. He didn't even play a whole set because he couldn't hear because people were talking.
I think
so much.
it's funny because people. It's really weird when people complain about like cell phones at shows, or but I really do think that humans are actually the biggest problem at shows. They're just badly behaving people.
We could probably go on about this forever, but
At least in our culture.
Before we go on, just to let the listeners know, if you want to check out Matt's stuff, get his CDs and stuff, his website is thematthewshow.com, all one word, thematthewshow.com.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
I actually saw a performance of Jeff Tweedy, the singer for Wilco,
Yeah.
and he does solo shows, acoustic solo shows. I have a DVD of him performing live, and I think he was in California or something. And right before he started a song, he was like, "Am I not playing the right songs? What do I need to do to please you people to get you to shut the fuck up?"
That's nice.
He's like, "You pay good money to come see a guy play, and you talk the whole time." He's like,
Right.
"Can you not hear me?" And somebody in the back said, "Yeah, we can't hear you." And he said, "You know why? Because you're talking." I mean, he had a big rant on stage, and it was hilarious. I wish people would do that shit.
Yeah,
more.
Jen and I went and saw, maybe 7 years ago, Black Tape for a Blue Girl in Richmond. And they're like, keyboard, super ethereal, flutes, girls singing softly. And all you can hear are the beer bottles in the background, people playing pool and like, fuck that, and this and that. And I was
that's
like,
why,
that's not, bars suck.
That's why it sucks when I'll occasionally tape a performance from the back of the club, to kind of see what it sounds like. But half of what I hear is other people talking.
Right, just drunk
and,
people.
I mean, there is a reason why so many amps need to go all the way to 10 sometimes because
It goes to
It
11.
needs to go to 11.
it needs to go to 11. If I had one of those, I would probably use it.
Why don't you just go to 12?
Yeah.
These go to 11. But
So,
anyway.
Yeah.
with you in Second Life, does that work like you would set up a regular gig or whatever?
Pretty much, you find who books it, and more often nowadays they tend to scout around at other clubs looking for talent, which that's kind of what other club owners sometimes do.
Yeah.
And then they just approach you and say, hey, this is how much we pay. You want to come play our gig, and really it doesn't take a lot for me to accept it because all it means is that I just teleport my dude to another place, and so
Plug all that equipment.
yeah, man, that's the thing. All my equipment is right here in the studio, and I don't have to. There's no gas money involved.
Wow.
There's a guy named Matthew Ebel, E-B-E-L, who kind of started doing this virtual touring about the same time I did, and his whole thing is that he had an established, nationwide fan base, but he couldn't afford the gas. This was at the time that gas was like $4 a gallon. He couldn't break even doing an actual tour to get to these people. So he started doing these shows on Ustream, and I think a lot of bands are running into that kind of problem. That it's hard to make any kind of money with the expenses of touring.
Well, I mean, gas is expensive as it is now, and you got to worry about your van breaking down. And Jason knows all about it because he's toured with bunches of bands and stuff. So.
You have to make, a fair amount to be able to make it worth your while. And anymore, it used to be the goal was, well, you tour enough, and then you get the record deal, and then, your problems are over. Well, of course, that's not the case. I know so many people who got the record deal, and then their problems, were not over.
Yeah.
Especially now.
Oh yeah, because Paul knows you don't sell CDs these days.
Fuck
No.
no, I have to give them away.
Well, let's do this. We've been talking about your music and the music industry. Why don't
Yes.
Why don't you set up the next song and let's do that? Let's let the audience hear you.
So I was listening to the radio, and this Avril Lavigne song came on, and it was this little teeny pop type of thing, and it was actually about abstinence, which I don't have much cause to sing about, but I thought he writes one of these teen pop songs for nerds, like nerds who feel angsty and aggravated at the state of the world. So I wrote like a teeny bop type song for nerds, and so that's what this song is you're about to hear.
All right, we need two.
So picture Avril Lavigne singing this in like some horn-rimmed glasses, and this in like some horn-rimmed glasses.
This is a song called Square. It's in the key of E. Do you remember the thing we all did with the thing and stuff all at the same time? No, I don't. Do you remember the thing we all liked? 'Cause everybody liked it. Could not say no. No, I don't. But I remember hearing you say, what's the matter with people who don't do what I do every single day? But I'm a nerd, I do not give a shit. So selling's not a lifetime membership. You buy cool for a couple of minutes at a time. When it's over, you're just old, confused, and tired, and I don't care. I was square before you got there. Do you remember the thing we all wore? You couldn't not wear it. Somebody somewhere said so. No, I don't. Did you know your parents did the same damn thing years before you came around? I didn't think so. But I remember hearing you say, my generation's cooler than theirs. It will always be that way. But I'm a nerd, I do not give a shit. 'Cause what you're selling's not a lifetime membership. You buy cool for a couple of minutes at a time. When it's over, you're just old, confused, and tired, and I don't care. I was square before you got there. Is it coincidence that these shoes and this band go together? I don't think so. Well, is it happenstance that you sound more like everyone else every day? I don't think so. You've been led around by the nose for so long, you have no idea who you are. I sing along to the lines of this guitar. Yep. Now you're a nerd, and it's a rotten shame that you didn't prepare a single moment for this day. You can keep on talking about those kids today. Turn on that old record, let it play and play. I've been hanging around here outside of time, thinking you might figure out you've been blind, but I don't care. You may never ever get there. I'm still a nerd, I do not give a shit. What you were selling didn't pay no dividends. You bought cool for a couple of minutes at a time. Now it's over and you're just old, confused, and tired, and I don't care. I was square before you got there.
Very nice. That's awesome. Can you hear it? Wait. I don't think I can hear you now. Hello?
Hello?
All right. That was awesome.
Very good.
Sorry, I was making sure all of our technical stuff was working. I was running around doing that.
You need more buttons? Any more button pushers in there?
Oh, right. He didn't even see that because Paul paid his respects to that comment.
What?
Paul paid his respects to that comment.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
So what's the name of that song?
That is called Square. I'm actually recording that for a single release sometime in the next couple months.
Awesome.
Do you put out your own albums, or how does that work?
I do. I have 2 records out. One that came out in 2003, one that came out in 2008, and you can get them at the website, Amazon, iTunes, that kind of thing. So the second one was actually released by a very small label in Virginia called Wampus that took an interest in it. But they're like, it's almost like not being on a label because they're about as small as I am.
It's just this, like 2 guys sitting around doing the same thing you're doing.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Just 2 dudes.
Just 2 dudes, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Two dudes records, yes. That's pretty much for that.
So would you meet them when you were? Because you moved up to NYC for a while to work on.
Yeah,
your music.
I moved up there like 6 months after 9/11 when we had already planned to go up there, and of course then this thing happens, and I'm calling up there, and everyone's like, no, don't move up here, it's a disaster, and we're like, well, we already sold all our shit, so we went ahead and moved up there, and it turned out to be okay. The economy was rough for a little while, but we stayed until January 2006, and when my son was born, then we ended up moving back down here to Dallas, Fort Worth area.
That's your hometown?
Yeah. Well, I was born in Fort Worth, but raised mostly over with you, with Jason in Weatherford. And but yeah, the kids got all those grandparents and aunts and uncles and all this stuff here, and all of the people that we knew in New York pretty much were childless monks,
Right.
who lived in their shoeboxes, and it's hard to picture raising a boy up there, but I don't know. But it was a fun experience. It's kind of like college, it lasted for 4 years, and you're kind of wondering, I'm probably not going to be able to stay here past, maybe a few years, but I'll experience it while I can. And it was kind of an interesting time to be there with all the upheaval and craziness and all that. But I still miss certain parts of it. I don't miss it about this time of year.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's mighty chilly.
So as far other than Jason cranking it up to 11 in middle school, what are some of your musical influences, or at least in the stuff you're doing now? Like,
well, I'll tell you this: for the longest time, I thought that music that was serious was ridiculous. Any kind of music that was earnest and honest and serious, I thought, because it just looked like it needed to be laughed at. So I was a big fan of people like Weird Al Yankovic in junior high.
Right.
And it wasn't until
which he had the new
discovery...
3D movie. Anyways.
oh my God.
Yeah.
I was waiting for it.
It wasn't until I started discovering kind of off-kilter artists, like R.E.M. and Tom Waits, Leonard Cohen, Warren Zevon, these kinds of oddballs that were out there. And that kind of showed me, well, okay, you can write a song that's serious but still be a little off, a little.
Ben Folds is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, he is. Well, and he's one of those guys that I think has found the balance, between just being a novelty act and being like a super serious, artiste. I think he's. That's the balance I like to try to shoot for.
Yeah, a lot like the majority of Ben Folds stuff is fairly quirky and very, very comical, but it also has almost all of his songs have a serious undertone to them as well.
Yeah, well, it's funny because he played a show in New York while I was up there that I wish I could have seen, because it was him and Guster Wainwright, and I thought that's kind of a perfect little mix of that genre, that kind of. And I did see him play with Amy Mann, which was also a good mix, because she does a lot of that sort of mixing. She has serious topics, but then she'll throw in little little humorous jabs in the middle of them, and I
Right.
enjoy that. Yeah, I mean, my influences tend to be that, and of course, whether you like it or not, you are influenced by the things that you grow up listening to. And of course, in my case, it was 80s country, growing up around here. And so probably lurking in the back of a lot of my songs is a Kenny Rogers song or two.
I can actually totally relate with you there, because I was raised in Florida, and my parents are the definition of the word redneck. And
yes, many of us have that distinction.
I mean, we used to. My mom and dad used to ride around listening to the best of Alabama all day long.
Oh man, yeah.
And I tend to like very good country music. I mean, this stuff they call
Sure.
country music now is kind of ridiculous, but
Well, it
Sound like my father.
because back then, you remember we had the whole urban cowboy thing in,
Right.
in the 80s, and so at that time, country was already kind of a little bit pop, but it just crossed way over into.
Well, when you
different
have Kid Rock.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I don't even really think it should be called country anymore, but
Yeah, when the country artists are rocking the Cher auto tune,
Yeah.
it's pretty bad.
Well, man, that stuff is. Well, and it's helpful that I'm closer to Austin than I am to Nashville because there's a little more of a rootsy undercurrent in
Right.
a lot of the country you hear around here.
Yeah, there was always, whenever I was growing up and I was playing in bands and whatnot, I was really into metal and the underground metal scene and stuff like that. And
Like Halen?
Halen, dude, don't even get me started on Halen. Actually, I did not get an actual real liking for Van Halen until I started playing guitar. And if you're a guitar player, even if you don't really like Van Halen, you have to respect Eddie Van Halen.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, and that's kind of how I am with a lot of these, metal players. Where I'm kind of like, well, I don't know if I'd want to listen to it for a really long time, but I have to respect it.
Right.
Cause
Like that Dragon Force band. I mean, their guitar players are fucking amazing. Like they do crazy shit on a guitar, but I couldn't listen to that.
What about Nicolas Cage's son?
This song is called
Cinderella.
So
someone drove me to a Steve Vai show one time, and
I hate that guy.
it's one of those things where it's like, it's obvious the guy's an amazing player, but I've heard this song already 50 times today. And,
Right.
Just kind of, it's hard to listen to.
Like
But-
that Swedish guy with Yngwie Malmsteen.
Yngwie!
Yeah.
Yes, Yngwie.
He's like
Man,
the biggest
it's funny
douchebag
because
in the world of music.
it's weird. It's really weird because me and Jason, I don't know how old you guys are, but we kind of came up at that shift where it was shifting from metal to like the alternative thing.
Yeah.
grunge.
That shift, there were an awful lot of people who resisted that shift really hard. They were hanging on.
He's
to the
one
metal.
of them.
Yeah. And I remember that, some guy at a guitar store was like, man, Kurt Cobain can't play guitar. Listen to this Yngwie Malmsteen track. And, it's just like those worlds were colliding.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's a time and a place for every style.
Yeah, sure.
Except for maybe him.
Yeah, I mean, there are artists that I like who I know are not technically great players, but they do something uniquely enough that I appreciate them.
Oh yeah, that tends to be what I'm drawn to more. Like, I really like Eddie Van Halen and Jimi Hendrix and all that stuff, but like,
Sure.
I tend to be drawn to the more simplistic songwriting and stuff that more,
Well, it's
more is
funny.
less, or less is more kind of.
Like Blink
Yeah.
182. I heard you were real big on.
Well, speaking of unique,
I think you can do a lot. I think you can do a lot with some simple components. I think people like Lyle Lovett, for instance, have done that. Been like, I'm going to write 3 chords, but I'm going to make the lyrics so odd that you have to listen to it.
Right,
And,
right.
And I appreciate that. Actually, American Songwriter just did a piece on Townes Van Zandt. He's kind of one of those. Too.
Yeah,
He wasn't the most virtuoso guitarist, but
you'd be surprised how many artists nowadays are really inspired by Townes Van Zandt.
this is what I'm saying, is that something obviously is there, and if I have aspirations towards any sort of notoriety, it's towards that type of where, like, doing something that no one else can do, even if it's not necessarily, you know, it's not pyrotechnic. It's not
Right.
You know,
And that's
or like
well, back to what I was getting at as far as, you know, being in a metal band when I was a kid, like
yeah,
now, and you know how you brought up, you know, the country stuff.
yeah.
There was always that stigma when you're a kid that country is just not cool. And that was the way it
Yeah.
was for me. Like, you know, I wouldn't be caught
Absolutely.
dead playing a Kenny Rogers song. Now I'll
Right.
be sitting around jamming out Ruby Don't Take Your Love to Town, you know.
Man, that's
Just
so
because
funny, too.
that song's cool as hell.
Yeah, it is a really good song.
So
But and a lot of that old '80s country, the problem, of course, was the production. They had it just sheened and polished down. You know, even some of those old Alabama tunes. Dixieland Delight is a really good country song.
oh yeah, that's I jam that one all the time.
Yeah, you know, it just has that. It has that '80s slickness on it, and I play bass in a country cover band that kind of puts like a little outlaw onto those '80s country tunes. And it's funny how so many the younger kids who are I say kids, people who are like 21 now, who hadn't heard that growing up, they don't know that it used to be this slick '80s pop song. They just know that it sounds like a loud ass cool country song, you know. And we sometimes carry some preconceptions because of where we first heard it.
Right.
You know, riding in the car with Dad to the Piggly Wiggly or whatever. You know?
And that's kind of the point that I'm at now is, you know, I don't give a shit if people think it's not cool to listen to country or not. I think it's cool as hell now, you know.
Yeah. And,
I don't listen to this new shit they call country, but I mean,
well,
all that
but
stuff
that's-
you know, the
that
stuff I
just
heard when
means,
I was
that
a
just means
kid.
that you listen to country and not Nashville pop.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we were talking about uniqueness to music and what artists do to add their signature to it. Your album, the February.
Yeah,
I can,
that's the most recent one.
yeah. Because you can go to thematthewshow.com and actually listen to the whole album streamed.
Yeah, you can actually go to februarythealbum.com and stream it in its entirety right
And it's interesting because I think you described it as almost a documentary type.
It's I'm calling it docu-pop at the moment because I have a friend who's in a band called Mocha Lab, and he did this experiment where he found himself stranded in this town in Pennsylvania, and he just started recording conversations at a coffee shop. And then later, when he got out of there, he put them all to music and put out this album called The Coffee Cellar that's just nothing but conversations with some music in the back of it. And it's kind of a little window into this little place in the world. And so I thought, well, I know the place that I was at the time that I was starting to make this record was early 30s, trying to kind of assess, okay, here's where I've gotten to, and here's where I want to go. How the hell did I get to this point, and how the hell am I going to get to the next point? And it's something a lot of people, our age start thinking. So I interviewed a bunch of my friends who were having those sorts of thoughts. And I just kind of pieced them together and put the bits of the interviews that seemed to match the song. And I kind of tried to make it a cohesive piece where, like, you have a bit of dialogue talking about a particular concept, and then you have a song about it. And then, and then you segue into another type of idea, and then you have a song about that. And so that's the idea. And I'm actually looking to do kind of like a serialized podcast version of that on this next go-around. That's what I'm recording right now. But I like the idea of mixing those genres.
You do it very well on that album, on the February album.
Oh, thank you.
Because I sent it around to the Zombie Popcorn crew, so they could listen to it, and I listened to it all day. I was like cleaning the house and was listening to it, and
that's good.
It's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's good.
Yeah, I listened to the first couple of songs, and I'm glad you explained that a little bit because I was like, why the hell is there all this talking at the beginning? Like, I hadn't grasped the fact of it yet. So
yeah, I was trying to figure out if you had interviewed people or you had just sampled a documentary.
No, I made sure. Of course, this is my problem: is I put all this information in the liner notes. Well, that assumes that people are reading the liner notes. which of course most people don't. So, yeah, I'm hoping that the idea gets through that, okay, these people are obviously talking about, something that the song's talking about. But yeah, it was just friends of mine, and they had interesting things to say. I was originally going to try to steer it in a particular direction, but I found that what they said naturally just was more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's it really reminds me of Dark Side of the Moon. I don't know if you ever saw.
Well, yes, Floyd is a pretty big influence.
Right, because I'm a total Floyd nut, and
yeah,
I saw the behind the album thing that they do on VH1, behind the music, or whatever. And there's a lot of samples of people saying weird shit throughout Dark Side of the Moon.
right.
And what they did is they just went around and they wrote out like 20 questions, and they went around to the whole crew that they were recording with, and they asked these people these questions. And some of them, some of what they said is what ended up on the album, and just some of it was all crazy, and it really reminds me of what you're talking about.
I think they were ahead of their time in that regard. I think they actually, although I have to say that Simon and Garfunkel did it a little bit ahead of them with Voices of Old People on the Bookends album, but Floyd kind of took it where it was integrated into the music a little more. Like when you think of those songs, you think of the sound clip with the song,
Right.
That's what occurs to you. So I think it's possible to try to meld them even tighter and to try to make kind of almost a new form out of it, but that remains a theory. We're going to see if it develops.
Well, I think it's really fascinating because industrial music all the time has really done on the opposite end of the spectrum has done that for the longest time. They take samples of what inspires them from movies that they were really into.
Well, there was the band Cabaret Voltaire. That was one of the early industrial bands with Throbbing Gristle. They later, in the early '90s, did a whole bunch of ambient music, like on the Instinct label, done by Taylor Dupree, who's up in New York, and they put out a whole album called The Conversation, and that's what it is. It's just different conversations with ambient music going, and they have one track called Low Cool that my wife hates. That I think it's these like West Coast gangsters going through all their terms, like an initiation, and it's pretty easy music, but it's really well done. It's like low cool, I'm a sly killer. Well, what's herb? Oh, well, herb is this. What's fry? Oh, that's the shit dipped in formaldehyde. This crazy shit that fuck you up, son. And then you hear them throw up all their cymbals and the whole gang come in, and then the beat comes. But yeah, look it up one day. Low Cool by Cabaret Voltaire. It's bizarre.
That sounds like something I would dig, because I always like just kind of, I don't know. I like documentaries because they sort of capture a moment, a normal life, and that's to a degree what a songwriter is aiming for as well. You're trying to capture something, a feeling, or something that's maybe passive, maybe transitory. It's going away, and so you have to grab it while it's there. And so I think documentary and songwriting can coexist.
Right.
It's just, and like you said, I think bands have been doing it for a while, just in different forms.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just curious to see if it can be done, even more intensely.
Right.
That's what I'm trying with this.
And that's what I was trying to get at. Is like I love the idea behind it that there are people like yourself out there who get that little niche in music and are trying to expand on it, trying to perfect it, or trying to add their own flavor to it.
Well, me and you were talking about off before we started this thing. We were talking about H.P. Lovecraft, and I recently finished reading his complete fiction, and it's kind of, here's this guy who, when his law pretty obscure for the most part, kind of getting published in the pulp mags, but he was kind of quietly developing a new genre, kind of quietly developing a distinctive style, and of course it was only later that anyone realized what was going on for the most part. But I think that any of us who are trying to create something have to be conscious of the fact that, you know, it really doesn't matter if you have legions of screaming fans or anything. If what you're doing is trying to create something unique, you just have to focus on creating it and try to get it as uniquely done as possible, and hope that it reaches the ears that it needs to reach one day.
That's what's really, really odd about music in the music industry is you'll see these bands that are all huge nowadays and whatnot, but there will be that band in the same genre that essentially started that movement.
Oh yeah.
That were around a couple of years before them.
Right.
Got a real good underground following and broke up right before the big hit, you know. And
that always happens, and it's,
I mean, I don't know. I know Jason and Paul really aren't into some of the stuff that I'm into, but like the band At the Drive-In.
Boo!
I've
never even heard that.
Right. They were more like the kind of like the pre-hardcore band doing crazy stuff, but they broke up right before the sound really exploded, and they were, a lot of people respect them for what they did, but they're nowhere near as huge as, you know, fucking, I don't even know who.
But sometimes that's a blessing for a band.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be, because sometimes if you are trying to,
then you're
you
the
can be
musician's
cursed
musician.
with a little bit of success. Sometimes that'll end up steering you off course, you know, because you're trying to maintain that sound. But I do think, I mean, it's really not up to the artist for the most part whether or not they've become famous or successful. So much of it is up to who's here and you know, how and what moment in history you're at. Sometimes the sound is not gonna take off until many years after it's been. Well, you mentioned Townes Van Zandt earlier.
Mm-hmm.
His stuff is getting played way more now than it ever did, you know, back when he was writing it.
Because all these popular people now are saying that they were influenced by him.
Yeah.
But it's also a lot to do with their publicists and, and all that.
Well, Townes Van Zandt was like, you know, what, the early 60s? And I mean, he was...
Yeah.
He was
I'm saying nowadays.
late 60s, early 70s, yeah. The funny thing is that I see, when I go to shows, a lot of them in Second Life, I find that at least a third of the audience are other songwriters. And so I'm curious, it just kind of makes me wonder, it makes me hope that maybe some of what I'm doing is helping to influence other people so that they can kind of help to create some new thing that I haven't even thought of, you know. Because I know that's happened with me. I go to shows and I pick up little pieces from other songwriters. Mm-hmm. And incorporating them into my own stuff.
And that's so true, because like when I was on tour and stuff, every band that's on every tour that I've ever been, they're always, you know, when we're waiting for bus call or whatever, they're always talking and wanting to say, oh, I love this song, I love that, and they'll start playing and say, let's do a collaboration, let's, you know, or show me how you do this on the guitar, show me, and it just totally goes over. I mean, one of the best examples were, and it wasn't, and everybody believes that it was, everybody outside of the industry believes that it was industry driven, but when I was on the used My Chemical Romance tour.
Oh, when they did the Bowie cover, or the Queen cover?
Yeah, when they did the Queen cover, and what gave birth to that was them two just sitting around talking, saying, I love this song. Yeah. We could totally do it. And then, you know, their agents and everybody got a hold of it and kind of pushed it through and got the rights and all that. But that's how a lot of the stuff, you know, happens.
Right, and I think that's when you get these little percolations. One of the weirdest things that I read, there's this music writer named Piero Scaruffi, who's kind of this oddball because most music history is written by music journalists, and so what they do is they cover from the point at which something got popular. But what Scaruffi does is he goes back and says, okay, but when did it actually start? And so he was able to find out that apparently, like Frank Zappa and Captain Beefheart had collaborated on an album in 1959 that he's calling the birth of progressive rock, you know. And so you start thinking about, you know, 1959 for progressive rock, and course, you think about the two people involved, Frank Zappa and Captain Beefheart went on to do very,
Right.
groundbreaking things. And so I think it is in that kind of passing one thing to another person, and you never do know what it's going to mix in with later and kind of pop out into something really cool and unique.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Same thing with industrial music. People go, oh, they invented the term, and you always hear the name Throbbing Gristle thrown out. And we coined the term industrial, and we invented it. And you'll get these, real crazy people on YouTube like fighting over that with comments in their videos. But then you can go all the way back to like the French musique concrete, where they were just putting random sounds on tapes and then assembling them. And that's like 1933, or you can go into like the Italian futurist movement, where this guy writes his whole manifesto about noise will be the new music, and the Italians were building these crazy noise machines to just make random sounds.
Someone built the first sampler back in the 20s because they just had a bunch of record players set up to cue at particular spots. And so these sorts of ideas have been around for a long time. They just didn't go mainstream.
Yeah. I think one of the first sequencers was invented by Raymond Scott, who also does all of the... it was invented like in 53 or something like that. It was a giant wall machine, Now you can get them the size of your pocket and write a techno song on it. But it goes all the way back to there. And Raymond Scott also had a jazz band, and they used most of his music for all of the Warner Brother cartoons. Not because he wrote for it, but because his jazz was so bizarre that it actually fit. Yeah,
and there's a lot of that kind of thing. I mean, you were talking about the musique concrete and all this. The Germans, after World War II, the German government built this huge synthesized music foundation of some kind, and it was just this huge building that was full of these synthesizers in the 50s that were, of course, the size of rooms, big synths. And they were studying it as kind of a avant-garde classical type of idea, like how do we make a symphony on a synthesizer.
Right.
Well, of course, then you get things like Kraftwerk coming out of Germany that were certainly, influenced by synthesized music, all they really did is add drums, stuff.
I could talk about Kraftwerk for hours on end. I'm reading another Kraftwerk biography right now, actually, by Pascal
interesting
Busey.
Stuff.
You want to do another song?
Yeah, what the hell?
What the hell? Let's do it.
So do you? I'll ask you a question. Do you want to hear a country song, or do you want to hear a
Kraftwerk song?
Folkish type of thing.
What was the second part?
Do you take
or
requests?
like a rock type of thing?
What do you think? Country or rock?
We were talking about the influence of country, so let's
do the country.
All right.
Wait, give me 2 seconds to cross over before you start playing.
All right.
Super high tech.
We're crossing over now.
You're good to go.
Okay, so this is sort of a gambler type thing. I just drank a beer, I don't know why. I just drank 3 more, I don't know why. Well, then you came down, we fooled around, now I'm clean and dry. It's the difference between me and you. Well, I ate a box of Krispy Kremes today, and I shouted at myself to go away. Then you came back and I relaxed, and now I'm all okay. It's the difference between me and you. So tell me, why do you leave me alone with myself? The last place I ever want to be. 'Cause the difference between the wrong thing and the right thing to do is is the difference between me and you. Well, I had sex with Tina Fey today. Then the TV stopped, made it go away. Then you came in, my favorite sin. I knew what to do. It's the difference between me and you. Well, maybe I should kill myself today. It's the only thing to make me go away. But I find that it's too much of a cruel thing to do. Not so much to me, but more to me and you. So tell me, why do you leave me alone with myself? The last place I ever want to be. 'Cause the difference between the wrong thing and the right thing to do is the difference between me and you. It's the difference between me and you. That's in C, by the way.
All right. Very good, very good. Did we got you back? We got it.
Yeah, I got you.
All right, cool.
So what was that tune?
That was called Me and You.
Awesome.
It's a,
You don't know how excited Josh is right now that we have you on the show.
He's been forced to endure.
It's always alien sex fiend and freaking ogre and skinny puppy, and I'm like, what about some Bob Dylan and some Neil Young or something, man?
Well, I'm glad to oblige. I can't actually play any skinny puppy, so that's
I don't
that's
blame
just
you.
my limitation.
Oh, really? Oh, we gotta go. It was nice.
Because you don't have a button pusher.
Yeah. See, real quick, we're about to come up on top of the hour. I want to throw out some update from last week's show. We interviewed the director for the upcoming 3D movie Archangel. That was last week who we interviewed. And I talked to him today because he had a screening in New York City last Wednesday.
And he said, thanks to zombie popcorn.
He did say it, and
Awesome.
but he said a lot of people attended the show and it was received very positive. And he's leaving either this week or next week to go to LA because Paramount Pictures wants to talk to him.
Nice.
I know.
That's cool.
That is amazing.
We were a part of something.
I knew a famous person one time.
Woohoo!
So we can lay claim to being there for that, and then the official birth of Docu Rock.
Yeah, see there it is. Speaking of,
Right.
Or the official announcement
That'll
of the
look
new
real.
genre
That'll look
of
real good on
Docu
your
Rock.
tombstone.
what's that?
That'll look real good on your tombstone.
Woo! But there's just want to throw out some news real quick. Brand new Wolfman. You know they're doing a remake of the movie Wolfman. A brand new poster came out of it today, and it's done in hardcore old school vintage style. It looks really good.
I brought an article to talk about a movie later.
All right, cool. It is almost 8 o'clock. We're going to try something new. Josh wants to do a news clip segment, so we're going to break away from talking to Matt real quick so we can do
But
this.
he's more than welcome to listen in and comment after we show the clip.
Yes, of course.
Okay, I'm
Matt?
looking forward to that. Yes.
Have you seen the original Frankenstein?
The original Frankenstein?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Eat it, motherfucker!
Okay.
Well, then it is definitely Josh's show.
Yeah, it really- let me
I
get
got so chastised last fucking week.
Last week we were talking about horror movies and stuff because me and Paul, I guess we've grown up seeing pretty much the same movies or into the same genre of movies.
Yeah.
And
I'm a little younger, okay? Sorry.
Oh, I never had it around as a kid. I just backtracked.
and so we give Josh a hard time because he hasn't seen most of the films that we've seen. And
Oh yeah.
last week we were kind of going through a list of what he's seen and what he hasn't. In the chat room and everybody was involved. And so we asked him if he's seen any of the Universal monster movies. And he was like, "What's that?" And my wife kicked him out of the house.
That's a little
harsh.
Well, you know, that's the way we roll.
I didn't
Yeah.
leave, but I got kicked out.
Wow.
Metaphorically.
Yeah. So anyway, we're not gonna be able to do the video for the people. We can do
No,
the
as
audio.
long as we can hear the audio,
We can
that's
do
all.
the audio because we got too many videos going at once.
So pretty much what we're gonna do at the top of the second hour on Zombie Popcorn Radio is I'm gonna try and comb the net for what I call stupid news.
Mm.
And it's not even like recent news, just any kind of stupid news report I could ever find. So tonight, my basic news report is going to be based upon Jesus. So I have a couple of clips that are absolutely ridiculous,
And
they
Matthew has
involve
the songs
Jesus.
about Jesus too. Maybe.
Oh yeah.
So
This is
we got the clips here. Let's do this one is Stolen Jesus is what I'm calling it, and you'll hear it in the news clip. But there was a situation with some dogs shitting on people's yards, and Jesus being kidnapped, and that's all I'm going to say.
It's got to be good.
Some Oakfield Township residents have taken what's not theirs to prove a point.
Residents on Lindy Lane claim a neighbor isn't picking up after her dog. So to entice her to do that, they stole something close to her heart. WCCM 13's Nick Monticelli is here now to explain. Nick?
Only those residents say their neighbor's wiener dogs leave their leavings in her yard, so they stole her 80-pound statue of Jesus.
It was sitting on that cement right there.
For about a year, Jean Mansell has cherished her cement Jesus statue, an heirloom from her late uncle.
There was footprints behind it and footprints in front of it.
But Thursday morning, Jean walked outside only to find that Jesus was gone.
My husband got a phone call in a real graspy voice over the phone saying, check your mailbox.
In the mailbox, a ransom note.
The note basically said they were holding Jesus for ransom.
The note reads, "We are holding Jesus ransom until you clean up the poopy from your wieners, and trust us, we see you take your wieners for long walks without picking up their poopy in our yards. This has upset us dearly, so please clean up all the wiener poopy if you want to see Jesus unharmed."
It has to be a young person because they put these little lines next to the word Jesus. No adult's going to waste their time doing that. And referring to wiener poopy, my gosh.
Jean has 4 wiener dogs and admits there was a complaint last year about their leavings, but says she's cleaned up every pile since.
I take my dogs for a walk. I carry a plastic bag with me, and I pick up anything that they do.
Now, Jean just wants her statue back and says she won't press charges if Jesus isn't harmed.
And I thought, my gosh, something like that's going to be safe in your yard. It wasn't.
You can cut it.
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
I think that was the most ridiculous shit ever, but it's
No pun
hilarious too.
intended.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
wiener- the weenie shit.
That one also holds a close spot to my heart because I have 2 wiener dogs.
Oh, that's
so.
true. That is true.
And an 80-pound statue of Jesus.
Yeah. Actually,
Well,
mine's
everybody
the
should
Buddy
have.
Christ from
It's
Dog
the buddy
Mowers.
cries with their thumbs up. You're
Yeah,
okay.
my wife and I, a few years ago, we were hearing that the Soviet Union, or the former Soviet Union, was selling off all of these big Lenin statues.
Mm-hmm.
And we really wanted to get one for the house so we could put it out in the front and just decorate him for different seasons, like put a Santa hat on it, and, Easter bunny ears and things like that. And
Wow.
thought the neighbors would like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good. You want to set up the second one?
This one is called Jesus versus Santa. And I actually saw this when I was home for the holidays, and I thought it was absolutely great. That's about all I'm going to set up because the news report says it all. So here you go. This is Jesus versus Santa.
Staring down the barrel of Jesus' shotgun, not your typical Christmas display. How about Santa, depicted dead on the ground with X's over his eyes? Or Rudolph, run over by a pickup truck?
It's morbid.
Is it art and freedom of expression, or just a way to cause an uproar in the neighborhood?
It's an expression of my repressed creativity.
In his display, Ron Lake believes Santa represents the commercialism of Christmas, a work of art open to interpretation.
You can tell your kids and make it as though there is a Santa Claus and let them believe all that, but you can't explain this thing or ignore this thing. I don't get it.
Neighbors don't feel the same. The controversial display went up on Monday. After multiple complaints to law enforcement and conversations with the artist, they're banding together to try to get it removed.
I know it's freedom of speech, but it's pretty disturbing, and there are lots of children, and that's our main concern.
Just outside of the chain link fence that separates the display from one of the town's main roads is a school bus stop. Neighbors say children walking to the stop see the traditional nativity scene, or Santa soaring through the skies and kicking back on a Harley. But then they stumble upon Jesus packing a double-barrel shotgun, bearing down on the symbol of Christmas.
It's private property, and everybody has the right to it, but then I have a right to stand up and say I don't like it either.
Christmas is not about Santa. It's about Jesus. Not that Jesus is a killer with a shotgun. But come on. There's a little humor here. There's a little tragedy here.
In Napomo, Adam Rakusin, your Central Coast News.
I thought that was absolutely great, and I will defend this guy's right to have that in his yard forever because I think it's.
I wish he
awesome.
would have just put more time into it.
It was so poorly constructed.
The opening
think of the children.
No, I don't want to add them now.
The opening of the clip is the best part too. Staring down the barrel of Jesus' shotgun.
Dude, this is so gross anyway.
I know.
It's just...
So those are my featured news clips for the day.
Nice.
Awesome. So you want to talk about your movie thing?
No, I just meant whenever. I mean,
No, we're doing it. All right, we'll do it with it. So, going back to Matthew, which you can go to his website, thematthewshow.com.
Yes.
Thematthewshow.com. What else can people expect to see on your website?
I do a thing every month called the Acoustic Surprise, where I just do a little simple acoustic version of some song, but it's usually a cover. And I throw that up for a free download, so anyone who goes there can go and check that out. There's a mailing list. We got pictures. We got all of this crud on there. I mean, you know, artist websites are pretty much artist websites for the most part, but I do have links to all of the places where you can listen to the tracks and go to check out some other stuff. Also, I got a link that has a lot of cool artists that if you like what I do, you can see what some of my people who I also like are doing. Because there's a lot. I'm friends with a lot of people who I really think are doing interesting things and unique things, and so I like to try to give them some attention if possible.
Yeah. If you want to hit some websites for them, feel free.
Do what now?
If you want to tell the websites or anything, you know.
Well, if you go to my friend Paul, he's the guy that kind of inspired me to start the docu-pop type of thing, and you can he's at mochalab.com. That's in Mocha Lab, and he has some really cool ideas. There's another guy who, if you're into this sort of more country type thing, my friend Doug Quartler is at dougmusic.com. I am notorious for covering his stuff. I actually play his stuff more than he does. So yeah, and I just recently got my Erickson, who is a Weatherfordian as well. I finally got him up on the internet, and so you can check his stuff out at shitheadjackson.bandcamp.com.
Nice.
Yeah, he's a really good songwriter, but he just doesn't give a shit about anyone
Not so
hearing
good
it.
on the titles, huh?
Yeah, that's the name. So so I've taken it upon myself to be his purveyor.
His PR man.
His pusher man.
Yeah.
Tap in the vein.
As far as the covers that you throw up for the free downloads, what really inspires you to do the covers? Like you just hear something and be like, oh, that'd be cool to do, or
it's very funny because you know, as much as I may have, you know, talked about Second Life as being this sort of, you know, cool music scene, some of the same things apply, which is that you'll still go to a show and someone will yell Margaritaville, you know,
Right.
or if people want to hear the same damn covers all the time. And what I like to do, and what I think my audience likes, is when I do a cover and they don't know it's a cover because they haven't heard it a million times already.
Right.
So I like to try to find songs that I think are good songs, but that really not enough people know about. Like the one I'm doing this month is an old Smothers Brothers song called Mediocre Fred, which is one of these things that ended up on one of their albums in the 60s, and I play it all the time, and people think I wrote it. And it's one of these songs that I worry about these songs disappearing if people aren't playing them.
Right.
So if nothing else, hopefully I'm kind of helping someone to know that these damn things exist. And what's funny about it is I've kind of resurrected some of them from the dustbin, and then I've gone to other people's shows and heard them covering it.
Oh, wow.
So that's what you want to do. You want to get not just me playing it, but I want to get a bunch of people playing this stuff. So yeah, but I'll do anything from Leonard Cohen to you know, Crash Test Dummies to I did I completely lost my train of thought there. Oh, I did a song by this dude in Florida who plays at like beach resorts and stuff, but he's got this song called Hand of the Almighty. The chorus is God will fuck you up.
Sounds like a comedy
and it's
cry song.
like really you know, hardcore Old Testament stuff, but like taken to its logical gangsta extreme.
Right.
Nice.
I enjoy that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's.
I just recently, well, not recently. I've been doing it for a few years now, but picked up playing piano. I was one of those kids that didn't get to take piano lessons when they were kids. So when I grew up, I wouldn't hate playing piano. I actually really want to learn how to play piano well now. And one thing I've kind of started doing lately is taking these either really poppy songs or songs that were really popular in their era. Like when the Gin Blossoms were around in the 90s, I didn't like them at all.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I kind of am in a songwriter sort of state, I listen to the songs and I think, well, hell, it's written very well. And what I've been doing lately is taking these songs that sound this specific way and trying to apply it to the piano.
Yeah.
To give them a different sound. But if anybody were listening to it, they would go, "Hey, that's that one song, but it's on piano."
Yeah.
Did you ever hear the Tori Amos "Smells Like Teen Spirit"?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a good version of that.
I think that more people ought to do that, because I think we get used to hearing a song a particular way. I do a version live of REM's "The One I Love."
Yeah,
and
I love that one.
But it's a very slow version that I stole from Rosie Thomas, because she just took it and just slowed it way down and changed some of the chords, and it's almost a completely different song, but it's still just as good as it was before.
Yeah.
It's just hearing it a different way.
Right. I absolutely love it when bands or songwriters do that. They'll take a song and it'll be all the same lyrics, but they'll change the chords, or they'll play it in a completely different key or whatnot. And
of course, the problem when you do that is you realize that you know there are going to be some people who think that it's really awesome, but you also know that there are going to be some people who will hate you forever for doing that.
Exactly.
Because they want to hear it the way that they originally heard it. And so you kind of just have to keep in mind, like, well, fuck those people. You know?
Right.
Have to be willing to lose some of that tip money.
See, my wife's kind of jaded like that, because anytime she hears anybody do a Floyd cover,
oh yeah,
she's like, no,
yeah, right.
nobody does Floyd. It's like, you know,
well,
nobody does Stairway, you know.
Well, that's why, you know, I do some Floyd songs, and I do tend to do them in weird ass ways, because that Nobody Home from The Wall, I do that on guitar, and of course that's a little piano ballad, but I think it works on guitar, and Waters probably wrote it on guitar, honestly.
Right.
But I think you kind of have to think of it the way that a songwriter was thinking of it when they came up with it, because they didn't know how it was all going to go when they first wrote it.
Right.
They knew, okay, I know what the melody is, and I know what the chords are, but they don't know what the final produced version is going to sound like at the time they're composing it, and so for some reason, I've always had a little kind of dissembler in my brain that when I hear a song, I can remove an element, like I'll remove the cheesy synth or I'll remove the shitty drum sound or whatever, and you can actually hear the song underneath it. And I like to try to present that for people who may not necessarily be able to get past those surface elements in listening to it.
Although I will stand up and defend the cheesy synth, but I know what you mean. No, I know what you mean. I'm always hearing songs, and I'll always tell my wife, I should do a cover version of that, and she just rolls her eyes.
Yeah, well, it takes a certain amount of just willingness to piss people off. It takes a bit of perversity, which apparently you have some of. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really like to hear the stories and whatnot about how songs came about, like, and how when they were first written, they sounded completely different than the polished version you hear on the album. I was watching this show that Elvis Costello hosts. I can't think of the name of it, but Elvis Costello hosts a show, and he brings on musicians and talks with them, and they talk about how they got started and who inspired them and whatnot. But he was talking with the Police when the Police reunited.
Oh yeah. And
he had Sting on stage. He interviewed them all separately. I guess they aren't allowed to be in the same room together unless they're on stage.
Probably not.
But
that'd be dangerous.
But Sting came out, and he was talking about when he wrote Roxanne. It's this kind of, real choppy, like almost kind of a reggae-ish sort of sound.
Like a little ska.
When he wrote the song on an acoustic, and it was almost bossa nova sounding.
Well, he has done that live before. There's a really good series of concerts that they do in England called the Secret Policeman's Ball, and Sting was on one where it was just him and a guitar, and he played that little, like I say, it was kind of a little bossa nova version of Roxanne.
Cool.
He did the same thing with Message in a Bottle, and I think he tended to write that way, 'cause probably closer to the way he sounds now, even back then. But they were trying to aim for this different aesthetic with the live band.
Right.
So I'm sure they rearranged things for that reason.
But I'm really into the Beatles, and it's cool to go back and listen to the anthologies that they released, because a lot of the versions of the songs on the anthologies are the really rough versions, like when they were writing the song, and just the takes that they took, trying to develop the song, and like Obla Di Bla Da off the White Album. It's got piano and horns and all kinds of stuff in it on the White Album version, but on the anthology it's just acoustic with a piano in it.
Yeah.
And it sounds different. It's a lot faster, but I really like hearing how they developed it into what it became,
Right. I kind of wish that there were on the Beatles side, because the famous one, of course, is Yesterday. It was originally called Scrambled Eggs.
Yeah.
It was originally Scrambled Eggs. Oh, my lady, how I love your legs, and that would have been a very different song if he had just kept it like that. But there's a lot of weird. I like hearing things like that. I heard recently the demo that Willie Nelson made of Crazy to give to Patsy Cline, and back before anyone knew really who Willie Nelson was. And it's interesting to hear him do the song before, having to deal with her version of it to compare it to.
Right.
It's kind of interesting. It is very different. It sounds more like a Willie song.
People in the chat room just said Willie rules.
He does.
Oh, well, of course he does.
Yeah, no, I love Willie. Have you heard his new album? Was just amazing. Sorry.
The tricky thing with Willie is that the great thing about him is that he will try anything, and sometimes the bad thing about him is that he will try anything.
Yeah.
So you get hit and miss, but when he hits it, he.
You ever see The King of the Hill with Willie Nelson on it?
Yes, that's.
Yeah, and his son goes, "No, I like
awesome.
Willie Nelson. He's alternative." And Hank Hill goes, "You take that back. I followed that man through country to country western to adult contemporary, and that's as far as I'm willing to take it."
Well, it's funny, in Texas we have there are very few things that left-leaning and right-leaning Texans agree on, but one of them is Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
Right.
And for different reasons. But
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting because, like, you never hear about Willie getting busted for pot possession in Texas because I think cops seeing a Willie tour bus go by, they know what's going on in there.
Yeah.
But you're not going to arrest Willie.
No,
So,
Texas,
you know,
you're not.
It's like stealing Jesus.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Don't steal the Jesus. Yeah. No, you think that the media coverage, about Michael Jackson dying was big. I think in Texas, when Willie dies, it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
People are going to freak.
Speaking of Jesus and Willie Nelson, I actually read a story once about, no, it's true, in Mexico, the image of Christ appeared on the back of a gas station building, and all these people were going around to, look at it and be cured. And it turned out it was just a whitewashed poster of Willie Nelson that had been painted over.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Willie is God.
Yes.
But if anyone
right.
can take the place of Christ, I think
Yeah.
Willie.
I could hang with Willie.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, you probably,
Don't fight.
I don't know if you saw that Stephen Colbert Christmas special with Willie on it, where he was
No.
one of the wise men and he brought the special
Yeah.
herbs. Yeah.
Nice.
I did one tour with Willie, or one show with Willie,
Yeah.
and it was amazing.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of one of those guys that kind of crosses genres, which is one of those things that I respect greatly about any
Kinda
artist.
like
who's
Johnny
willing
Cash.
Well,
to-
I think it has a lot to do with just him in general. I mean, his music's great,
Yeah.
but I think it's just his attitude on life, how he'll
Yeah.
just accept anybody. Because my
Yeah.
dad used to tell me stories growing up, because Willie used to have these festivals in Texas, and my dad lived down the road from where they did this, and he would just go, and it was kind of, I guess you could say it would be Woodstock, but with the long-haired country and western,
Right.
Oh yeah.
And he still does it till this day, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They have those. I mean, he'll play anywhere. They'll have those jams set up just out in the middle of the boondocks, and that, like I say, that whole redneck hippie thing is interesting because it did sprout around this area,
Yeah.
and
Mullets.
it was very strange because it's not what people think of when they think of Texas generally. At least, particularly not nowadays in the post-W era. But
Right.
it is still kind of an undercurrent. You still run into those guys.
Yeah.
I've driven across Texas a few times on my way
Yeah.
to Arizona and California, and it's fucking weird. It's weird. It's a weird place. I remember the first time I went. I think it was on Interstate 20, which is the longest way to get through Texas.
Yes.
And it just
Oh,
makes
yes.
a smile
Yeah.
across Texas.
It's like, sucker!
Yeah. And when, you always see, I'll work with someone from Texas, and they'll have, the Don't Mess with Texas on their desk or
Oh, yeah.
something. And,
Oh, they have it on a refrigerator.
yeah, I know. And I crossed the line, and there was a hot tub, Emporium, and there was a hot tub in the fucking shape of Texas. I was just like, that is fucking cool. But the one thing I love about Texans is telling them that if you took Alaska and broke it in half, Texas would still only be the third largest state. It gets them all angry.
Yes, and unfortunately, we haven't had a good record of producing governors any better than they have.
But your hot tubs are top notch.
Hot tubs are pretty badass, I have to say, which is strange because you don't actually need a hot tub.
I know, right? The water is already. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like the Panhandle part of Texas, up on Interstate 40.
Yeah.
I stopped.
There's a whole lot of nothing up there.
Yeah,
There's
well,
nothing.
that's what I liked about it. I stopped in this rest area that I swear from 5 miles away you could see this fucking star that was lit up, and you go in and all the tiles have a star on them. And I was like, oh my god.
There's wagon wheel stars and the shapes.
But
of
it was
Texas.
totally it was Lone Star everything, you know. And then
Oh, yeah.
I went into the urinal, and I swear to God, I could stretch my arms out and not touch the guy beside me. I was like, this is so fucking Texas. This is exactly this is everything I ever wanted to experience in this
That's right.
state.
Yeah.
And,
we
and I was
do-
happy. So
yeah.
thank you, Texas.
Yeah, they do. We do things rather large and obnoxious here.
Yeah, but it's I think it's all in good fun.
My favorite story is when I lived in Texas, when I was in high school. And Matt, you remember my blue car that you witnessed me run into the truck behind. But me and my friends we were driving around, and these cowboys just it was always the cowboys against the punks, whatever.
They always have those striped shirts with the vertical stripes that were different colors going down.
I was always finding myself at the end of somebody's anger.
Right.
Through my whole high school.
Right.
I can verify that.
Your whole life that way.
I know. And they ended up chasing us down the road we were driving. I had a friend in the passenger seat and a friend in the back, and we were just running from them. And then finally, Les is like, "Dude, just pull over. We're not gonna run from them. If they want to throw, let's just do it." So, we pull over. They jump out of their truck and say, "Boy, you should know you can't run from the rodeo." And everybody who was with me busted out laughing. Jody tripped and fell on the ground laughing so hard, and they were really puzzled by the whole thing. They're like, "We'll get you next time." They drove off.
We'll get you next time when you're not so happy.
That's awesome.
It's like the best quote ever.
You can't run from the rodeo, man.
You never know what you're gonna get when you pull over the side of a road in a country area.
It's great.
And that's the deal. Texas is very bipolar, because you have those guys, and you also kind of have an undercurrent of real weirdos, and I enjoy the weirdos.
Yeah.
I have a lot.
It's like that here. We're really close to the Carolina line, and where I grew up was just like 10 minutes, about 20-minute drive from the Carolina line. It's weird. You go back there, and the women still all have like the tight curl permed hair that's only an inch off their head and giant glasses, and it's just like stepping back in time. But I had a boss whose brother is a lawyer from New Jersey, and he's a black guy, and his car broke down like way in the southern part of North Carolina. And he was terrified, right? He was like, fuck. This is the story this guy's telling me. And he said, so all of a sudden, this pickup truck slams on brakes. Dust goes everywhere on this back road. They pull over, and these three crazy-looking rednecks get out. And he's like, oh, shit, what am I going to do? I'm a black lawyer from Jersey up in this, he had his, nice suit coat on. And he thought he was about to get, beat up or lynched or harassed. And these guys look at his tire and they go, "You got a flat tire?" And he's like, "Yeah." And they had just bought this new tool. they had just gotten back from the hardware store, and they ripped it out of the clamshell package, and they jacked his car up, and they were like using this new tool, and they switched his tire and fixed it and sent him on his way. And he's like, "Man, I never thought." So you never know what you're gonna get when you're on these country roads. You can get, you're right. You can get, the crazy militants, or you can get, some really
that's
cool
another
people.
thing too. Where we grew up, we had militias come out there, and that's where they trained.
Yeah,
is out in Weatherford.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man.
And
those guys are kind of scary. Well, the funny thing is, though, is from living in New York, there are rednecks in New York too. They just have different accents.
Yeah, I've heard that is true.
I mean,
further up
there are
north
rednecks all over the Bronx. And there are places there that I certainly wouldn't go just because there's some real ignorance going on. And here's, and you think of New York City, you think, oh, well, everyone's got their turtlenecks and padded elbow tweed, coats, but it's...
Unless you're in Williamsburg, and then it's... That just totally killed that conversation.
I only know Williamsburg, Virginia, and it's colonial. Well, I guess we can get dorky and ask about your gear or what instruments you play on the album.
You say get dorky.
There's this thing called a guitar.
Dorky.
Well, for a lot of it, I got a Pro Tools set up at home, and so I do all my recording on that. Mm-hmm. And I've used. What's that?
Digio 2, Digio 3, 01.
I have the 002.
Okay.
And it was used when I bought it, and I hope it's not nearing the end of its life cycle right now, but it's still a bit old. But It did its job, and I'm on Pro Tools 6.4, which I think is about 1 million versions old at this point.
Yeah, I think they're up to 8 now.
Yeah.
But I can't get my employer to purchase it. So no, I can't talk about it. Actually, on the air.
Well, when we're talking about gear, is all of my gear is secondhand and cobbled together from wherever I happen to collect it. I'm using the same 2 guitars now that I bought in '96, to play in my old rock band. So, what?
As far as acoustic playing and whatnot, obviously you just said you use the stuff that you bought in '96, but do you like more of a polished sound from your guitar? Do you like to get more of an old vintage?
So much of it depends on the song. Like if I'm doing a poppy song, sometimes I will double the acoustic guitar just to kind of give it a little shimmer.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, I tend to just I'm really bad about sound treatments. Like I kind of just like to see what it sounds like in the room,
right?
Without having to put the baffles and everything around. So a lot of times I just kind of take whatever the single instrument sounds like in whatever given room I'm in. So it tends to kind of sound relatively organic.
Mm-hmm.
And I've managed to find synthetic things like, keyboard sounds or drum sounds. I tend to try to find things that are a bit organic so that it doesn't sound quite so processed. But on the other hand, though, there are songs where I really do want it to sound processed. The first track on February is very synthetic and very
that's
mechanical sounding. And I did that because it's like, well, if I'm going to go to that area, I need to just do it. I need to just go full on and make it an electronic type song.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, the next song is mostly acoustic guitar and acoustic instrument. And so I'm completely a slave to the song. If the song calls for a slide whistle, I'll bring in a fucking slide whistle,
Mm-hmm.
even though I won't play it on any other song. So I think that's why if you actually, the 2 people who read the liner notes on the thing will note that a lot of the songs have different people playing on them. It's not the same set of musicians every time.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that because different songs call for different things.
Right.
I would find a player who I felt like had the kind of feel that I was looking for this particular song. And that just means that when you carry it off live, I do have a fixed static band that I play with live that we all just kind of have to try to adopt those styles for the show, But I mean, I tend to play a lot of my own guitar and I do a lot of the vocals, but I import backup vocalists whenever possible because I like to get different textures.
You see, for a long time when I was in high school, I started playing drums, and I really like playing drums. It's a good way to get out aggression when you're pissed off.
Yes,
but,
absolutely.
When I started playing in bands, I hated being confined to the back of the stage and whatnot because
drummers have a bad gig
because you can't lean on the other guy and do that.
But I mean, not to talk myself up or anything, but I honestly, like when I play live, I'm more of a show guy. Like I like to get up and fucking go nuts on stage and stuff.
Yeah.
And I hate it. Like you can go nuts on a drum set, but you just look like Animal back there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
But
well, I'm an ambient music guy, so for me, going nuts is
so you
like
just sit there and go.
It's kind of like bobbing my head more than 3 times in half an hour. Oh my God, he clicked his mouse again. This shit's getting crazy.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's hard to do because, I mean, with me, since I'm kind of tied to the microphone, I don't want it to go all Garth Brooks and have the headset.
Right. You got to swing in on a harness around your genitals.
Yeah, right. So it's hard to figure out, like, how do you make yourself active on stage but still be able to deliver what you're supposed to deliver? And so you kind of find yourself working different parts of your body, and drummers at least have the luxury of their whole thing is physical. So my drummer is the same one that I've used for many years. My friend Jeff I went to school with, and he does a lot of my backup vocals as well. So it's kind of helpful in that regard. But he's the exact opposite of you, whereas you can't actually tell he's playing most of the time.
Right.
Like, I mean, if you look back there, you see like arms, and you hear all of this sound, but you don't actually see the big where people
Right.
will trash on
Right.
it. So I have to try to be the one that's moving around.
Right. Well, see that I really like playing drums. I haven't had a set in years, but I'm planning on getting one as soon as I get into my new place. But
Yeah.
I started moving on to other stuff. I did the whole DJ thing when DJing was cool in bands, and that
Is
got,
DJing not cool anymore?
It's not cool anymore.
Oh, okay,
you-
I'll have to.
Yeah.
I'll send you the
take that
memo.
off my list.
Remember that when you do your Limp Bizkit cover.
Good, yeah.
The DJing is no longer cool.
But
Man, I was gonna do that Linkin Park song.
Yeah, dollar bill.
But I actually hated having the button pusher moniker. I
Oh,
was in a band with a guy, and well, actually I was in this band and we got a new guitar player, and I was really involved in the songwriting process a lot, and then I kind of did the whole DJ and keyboards and stuff afterwards.
Yeah.
Once the song was more in the complete stages, but I always threw my 2 cents in as far as writing and structure and stuff goes. And when we got this new guitar player, one time he came up with a riff or something, and I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he totally got an attitude and was bitching to the drummer, and he's like, "Man, that dude just sits back there and pushes fucking buttons. They tell me he doesn't like my riff."
Yeah.
So that really got to me when that shit happened. So I learned how to play bass, and then went to guitar, and I really fucking want to learn how to play pedal steel guitar now.
Oh well, now you
Back to
would
the
be
whole
man if you
country
did
thing.
that.
Just buy one.
Just buy one. Just a learner one is fucking $800.
Yeah. They're hard. Well, and the learning curve is relatively steep on that too. But if you learn it, you will be in high demand because there are a lot of people who are looking for that.
And that's when you were talking about employing musicians for different sounds, for the songs and stuff. Like, that's kind of my whole thing now is I play guitar, bass, I play stand-up bass, banjo, mandolin, all that stuff. And that's why I want to learn how to play pedal steel, is because I want to be able to do all this shit that people want to have in their songs, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Is like, the thing that I do when I do play for other outfits, I very seldom play guitar and sing. Most of what I do is bass playing because there's a lot more.
Nobody wants to play bass.
What?
Yeah, right. So I it's much easier to get in a band, playing bass. But the thing is you still get paid the same. So,
right.
And it's a little less of a pain in the ass because you don't. So many of the ego type issues that usually happen between like guitarists and keyboarders and other elements. The bass player, almost no one gives a shit really. So,
right.
You kind of get to stand over on the side and do your thing.
And that's why I actually got into folk music, and I've actually started listening to a little bit more bluegrass lately. And it even falls to like old outlaw country. Like I bought a stand-up bass because, you can play bass, but stand-up bass there's something very different about it. There's the slap on it and everything.
Mm.
And I love playing it more than the electric.
I wish I could afford a stand-up bass because there's a lot of demand for that around here.
Craigslist.
Oh, I know. I've been checking it.
I actually lucked out and got one here in Virginia. A guy, his dad had 6 of them.
Wow.
Damn.
He was a jazz player.
Oh wow.
And he was getting rid of some of them, and he sold me one for $390. Got a bow and a bag, a gig bag with it, and it's in pretty decent shape too.
Huh. Well, that's one thing that I wish my old man had hung on to. He played jazz bass and country bass in West Texas in the '60s, and on an upright, and sold it when he went into the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wish he still had it hanging around because I could at least monkey with it. But as it is, I've gotten to where electric bass is, most of the time that will suffice for most bands.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I like having the know-how of those just kind of little obscure instruments to where
Well,
somebody.
because again, it's somewhere that you can fit in where there are a zillion guitarists, and
Right.
a million lead vocalists, but they may not have a mandolin player.
Right.
So,
and mandolins.
particularly if you can switch.
Yeah, I got a mandolin.
Mandolins, it's not hard, but it's just the whole you're playing upside down.
I took all my frets off of my mandolin.
Oh my god!
I took all my frets off and then I bow it, and I could do like Indian scales a lot easier because you can slide.
Right.
And
Wow, I bet.
yeah.
Well, that you might have actually started a new genre there.
Yeah. That's all I do at home. So,
Indian mandolin.
He'll send me an email and go, dude, listen to this.
yeah. I just got my Fujara in, which is like a 6-foot Slovakian shepherd's flute. That's like a bass overtone flute. Only I can't afford the real one, so I have to get one made out of PVC, and you can, put them upside down and retune them, and crazy stuff.
You sound like someone who might own a didgeridoo. Do you have one of those?
I have 2 of them.
Okay, I figured.
One of them is just a PVC pipe and a radiator hose, but it's a perfect low A, and it's like the best one. The other one is actually PVC too. It's just painted to look like one. You can't afford real authentic. You want a real like Australian one, you gotta pay $400 or $500, and I don't want to pay that for one fucking note.
No, man, it's all of the overtones.
Yeah, it's not that many overtones. Not the way I play it.
That's very funny to me because there was a guy who I opened for in Second Life one time who he had a whole hour set of didgeridoo.
Wow,
that's Paul.
And I'm good into it for a little while, but I have to say that about the 45-minute mark, you're starting to look around and
yeah.
That kind of reminds me, like, when I first got into playing guitar and folk music and stuff, I got into Dylan and Neil Young and playing guitar and harmonica and at the same time and shit. And my wife's like, I was buying different keys of the harmonica and stuff, and she's like, why the hell do you need so many harmonicas? Don't they all do the same thing? It's like, obviously you don't understand.
You know what I do? I just I can only afford like one flute, and then I just transpose everything using Ableton Live because it shifts up and down. But the problem is if you want to do it live, you're screwed.
Right.
So it's like, oh shit.
Well, then you go back to pushing buttons.
Yeah, that's it. Oh fuck! I need a video screen so no one realizes that I'm.
That's the only reason Paul became my friend. Is he's like, you do video?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. He showed me his projection screen, and all these wheels started turning. And I was like, "Oh, fuck yeah!"
Awesome. Speaking of playing instruments, you want to do another one? You want to do a rock song?
Yeah. What the hell?
Rock out with your cock out.
Let me do the mic switch. Give me 2 seconds.
The cock's coming out.
Uh-oh. It's all you.
All right.
Don't you try to go away. It's enough to make you stay. And don't you try to feel a sway. Well, it's enough to make you say the things that you really want to say. And no one really wants to hear anyway. Hey, don't you try to really live. Well, it's enough to make you die. Hey, don't you try to make it fit. It's enough to make you lie in bed. Think of things you said and no one really wants to hear you say. don't you try to tell the truth. Well, it's enough to steal your youth. And don't you come to me like this. Well, it's enough to make you wish you hid the things you never did. When no one really would believe you anyway. Anyway.
Awesome.
That's my loud ass rock song.
It's a good ass rock song. So awesome. We're gonna take another break just real quick so we can talk about movie stuff. 'Cause Paul wants to bring up this new thing. Go ahead.
Oh, now.
Paul's
Like,
movie.
oh, crap.
Paul got
Come
it.
on, man.
Come on.
Paul's movie montage.
It's my time to shine. No, so I went out the other day and I bought. I wish I could say like I picked this up on my own, but I went out and got the newest Rue Morgue magazine at Borders, which is a great magazine. But there's an article in here about a movie called. You can see the preparation I've done. House of the Wolfman, and it stars Ron Chaney, who apparently is yeah, I just realized their names, Ron, is Lon Chaney Jr.'s grandson. And so they're searching for a distributor. It says it's a cross between House of Frankenstein and Schindler's Like the Old Dark House. Chaney plays Dr. Bella Reinhardt, a sinister scientist who... Wait, hold on.
Okay.
I didn't think you even noticed.
No, I saw that used in my peripherals. Josh just threw up his arms like... I know. The Old Dark House is a Boris Karloff film. And,
who's Boris Karloff?
Yeah.
You're joking.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
I will teabag you to death.
He's got
And we're not talking about Fox News teabagging.
Yeah, that's right. And
he's the guy who played Dracula, right?
Yeah.
They're really into that on that station. I know.
They really are. Did you see the ad? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
But did you see the ad for announcing that Sarah Palin is going to be a Fox News contributor?
Someone's gonna teabag her on Fox News.
Nice.
It says Sarah Palin. Sarah Palin joins the teabagging convention at Fox News. And I just went, yes.
And Sarah Palin was probably going, all right.
Yeah, right.
I like that. That's folksy.
Anyway, we interrupted you.
Yeah, that's fine. That's cool. It says Chaney plays Dr. Bella Reinhardt, a sinister scientist who invites 5 people to his castle with the promise that one of them will, by means of a competition, inherit the estate. Unbeknownst to them, the doctor, who has lycanthropic tendencies, also has ulterior motives. But I know it's just like the typical old setup.
But it's new.
But it's new. The sound was recorded in mono to give the like old style feel to it, and
so how's this gonna go on Blu-ray?
Yeah, I don't know. What's the thing? You'll get it in mono,
Yeah.
which I just think is great. The makeup is all things that would have been done in the 40s. No CGI. They even used the same kind of dissolves. So if you've seen like the Wolfman change in the old ones, you know how it looks like one shot after another, and then it kind of fades into the next thing. It's all like that. And I think I want to get someone from this movie and talk about it. It premiered a little while ago in LA, but they're still shopping for some distributors. It says here, since making its premiere in October in Los Angeles, House of the Wolfman has received several screenings throughout the U.S., and it's presently going through negotiations for distribution rights. So hopefully we'll talk about that more.
Yeah.
Sounds like the perfect kind of movie for the rare movie reviews Jason wants to start doing.
Well, I've been doing them, and speaking of rare movie reviews, we will have a special guest on the show one night. I don't want to give too much away, but it's a really, really famous kind of cultish director from Russia. He still lives in Russia, so we're just working out on the times which will be good for him to be up real late to be on the show. I think there's a House of a Wolfman trailer here. I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know if it'd be good for radio. Let's see if we can.
Like we're good for radio.
It could be just how the old trailers were, just like this. Yeah, there's no. It's just music. They did it the old school style with the text on the screen. Subjects in the most fiendish experiments. So yeah, but that's pretty awesome. We should get them on the show for sure.
Yeah.
I used to listen to those old at the Weatherford Library. They used to have those old like lights out radio shows.
Yeah.
From the 40s, and some of those I like the aesthetic of those little kind of creepy old radio shows.
Yeah, there's I can't remember the website. I get emails from them, and they produce they have a lot of those on their websites, and you can listen to them for free, and it's pretty neat to check them out.
Yeah, I like that stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Old horror. Yeah, I cherish. I did steal a copy of their War of the Worlds broadcast from them one time. I don't think they've ever fined me for it, but I still have it.
Yeah, I have a lot of their dramatic
Those are
stories.
ones I just always wanted to be. I always thought it would be the coolest job to be the sound effects guy, or in the radio station, shaking the metal thunderboard, and
that would be badass.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, that's my dream, to travel back in time.
I guess. Well, I mean, what do you call them? The Foley guys.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically it. He's a Foley artist.
Yeah, but like a live Foley artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is even crazier. No multiple takes to do everything from the walking to the door and the gravel and the grass and all the different cloth sounds. Cool. To do that live, it's got to be nuts.
You guys actually need one for your show.
We do. We've been talking about it, and we have a cheap.
I keep trying to get him to build a Foley pit in my office.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Kind of,
That's the closest we've gotten.
That's it. And and that's all done by my mouth. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Well, you're like Bobby McFerrin.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we got that. But we don't. We always forget that we have it when we need it.
That's the thing that'll catapult you into the big leagues.
Yeah. I don't know if I really want that.
And you can start getting like Guillermo del Toro in there and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm happy with the underground artist.
Yeah. No, you guys have some pretty good stuff on. I've listened to some older episodes.
You don't have to lie just because you're on the show.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's cool. We know what we get.
We count the downloads. It's only 3.
And that's me, Josh, and Paul.
Yes, I know that. But I enjoy them nonetheless.
Awesome. Thank you. And we enjoy your music. And again, for the listeners who's tuned in late, the website for Matthew, the person performing tonight on the show, is thematthewshow.com. All one word, thematthewshow.com. And yesterday was Matthew's birthday, so...
Yeah.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much. I'm officially 36.
36.
I don't know what's supposed to happen when you turn 36, but whatever, it's about to happen to me, so look out and be careful. I think Jason, you're what?
I am 35. I'll be 36 this year.
Right behind me then.
Yep.
And how old is Paul?
I just turned 31 last October.
I'm the only person here in my 20s. Still.
Oh wow. Yeah, don't hang out with old people. You get diseases and things.
You get yelled at for not seeing old movies.
How old are you, Josh?
Old people are very
29?
judgmental.
Dude, we're only like 2 years apart.
Yeah, but I'm in my 20s, you're in your 30s.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
How come you have not seen Frankenstein?
I'm closer to your age than I am to his age.
Yeah.
Get away from my Jesus, you damn kid.
That's it. I'm gonna go on a rant. And last week we were told to leave Josh alone by some of the to take it easy.
Apparently they pick on me a lot.
Yeah, and my wife, who is generally mean, said on the way home, you know, I think you should probably cool it with picking on Josh.
Yeah, I get an email from Paul.
And this is a woman who breaks my heart like on a daily basis and revels in it. So I was like, holy shit, I can't believe she just said I was mean.
He sent me an email saying that she said that I was mean, not even putting him in the.
No, I said we.
No, you said me.
Yeah, I probably did.
And then at the end of it, you go, "We're assholes."
Yeah.
I want to see this email. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So I call up Josh. I'm like, "Hey."
Hey, buddy, how are you? Are you
How
doing
you
okay?
feeling? Any thoughts of suicide or?
What? I just saw Avatar and I want to kill myself.
Yeah, I had that happen when I stepped out of there. I just thought
You
I
just
really
got all
wanted to
depressed.
shoot myself after seeing this movie.
But Matt, I know you will appreciate this because I equally do. They're saying, and I know, I really hope this is true. But the rumors
I bet
on
it's
the
gonna have something to do with 3D.
Yes, of course it's 3D. But there were rumors through the industry now saying that when Tron comes out, it's going to blow Avatar out of the water.
Really?
Really?
That would be pretty badass.
That would be badass.
Because I just watched that trailer, and you know that enough kind of I wet my britches just watching that.
It does look amazing. I mean, I think it's going to be amazing just by itself. Adding 3D to it, by far, just
That's so. It's just funny to me because you know, I mean, we grew up in an era where there was 3D, and so it's funny that it kind of disappeared for a while and then just sort of popped back up all of a sudden.
Yeah, I
the
never
reason
got to see it as a kid.
What, Tron?
Well, Tron. I mean, I haven't seen Tron. Have you?
No, I haven't seen
you could have
Okay, now
given
look.
me shit for not seeing Tron.
It's just me and you, Matt.
Now be nice. Be nice.
but it is on my Netflix queue, and it should be arriving sometime. My wife keeps moving it down because she's like, "I want to fucking watch."
I have it. I have it. I'll just
Yeah, and I'm like, we were supposed to get Tron, or we were supposed to get, stripper zombies. What happened? And all of a sudden, it's like Heroes.
So she's
Is
actually the
3.
one that's responsible for you getting picked on then.
Yeah. Again, he said she was cruel.
Yeah. That's it. Let's blame it on her. It's not like she's gonna listen to this.
Yeah. She doesn't even listen to it.
Tron was
She doesn't
one-
listen to when
Tron
I
was one
talk
of
to
my
her in a
formative
fucking
movie
room.
experiences.
What's that, Matt?
Tron was one of my formative movie experiences, definitely, as a youngster.
Yeah.
I was all excited. I went to school for audio engineering, and there was a post production class that was going to be taught by one of the guys that did sound design on Tron.
Oh, wow.
So I was
That would've been pretty awesome.
really stoked.
Yeah.
But when I got there, he had left, and they just gave the job to this guy who was in that Samoan family band, the Jets. I'm
Big
fucking not
difference.
kidding you. And he was the fucking bass player. And, and he was like, there was a couple things where he would forget to like put Phantom Power on the mic, and I was like, oh my fucking god, I can't believe I'm
don't put the bass.
Yeah, it was just funny. I was like, wow.
The bass players and the drummers get the most shit.
Yeah, they do. It's
Well,
because their egos aren't big enough.
Speaking as someone who is often in the bass player gig, I'm kind of a day walker. You know, I play bass, but I'm not necessarily a bassist.
Yeah,
but,
right.
So I get to pick on other bassists if I can.
See, that's what I went from guitar to bass because I love bass. and that's what I consider myself as. If I have to put a musical instrument in my hand, I prefer bass.
Yeah. Well, you can do a lot of cool shit with it.
Well, I just remember when I used to play it when I was in high school and stuff. People called me the Tank because I'd always play it and it would just always sound like a tank.
Was
Well,
it a compliment?
I forgot to mention that we had a very avant-garde entry into that talent show that me and you were in junior high, because someone had like 3 or 4 bass players on stage and like 1 guitarist, and that was kind of Spinal Tap level bass playing.
That's one of the best fucking scenes in Spinal Tap is the bass player with the fucking five neck bass.
Yeah. Like the whole song is 3 basses playing it.
That would be great.
I didn't notice that until about the 3rd time I watched that movie.
That's funny. It would have been great if you guys had like an 18-inch Alamo behind you.
Actually, that would have been.
Especially if I had a little miniature.
That was really fucking good.
I think we just lost Josh.
Alright, I think it's 9 o'clock.
You did hear about Ozzy peeing on the Alamo.
Yeah, he's been banned from Texas for life, right?
Yeah, he was, well, not for life because he just came through town a while ago, but they were not happy with him.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure. I mean, that's kind of like, I think that's probably worse than stealing a Christ statue.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
He's seen on
That
the
is
Alamo, which is really funny because it doesn't belong to anybody.
Yeah, well, I know,
it was fucking stolen. It's just.
God dang it, John Wayne died here.
Yeah, that's a good Hank Hill. It's about history.
My God.
I'm driving the hell out of this truck.
I will say that when I was in New York, I would have people ask me, so like, how much like King of the Hill is Texas? And it's actually pretty accurate.
It is.
Yeah,
I know.
That's what Jason says. Oh, something that's funny. Even Jason being a vegan, but still being from no, not because you're a vegan.
Oh yeah.
Vegan from Texas. Now I grew up just a few minutes from the Carolina border, and the first day we were hanging out, we were driving around. We were shooting some video for a video we were going to do, and we were actually in North Carolina. We were going to this swamp to shoot video, and we got on the subject of barbecue. And my mother-in-law is from Mexico and then moved to Texas, and they fixed that really shitty Texan barbecue.
Whoa!
And I started getting all like, even Jason started getting upset. Doesn't even eat fucking cheese or milk, right? And he's like, "What do you mean it's pork with vinegar?" And I'm like, "Dude, it's Carolina. That's how you fucking eat barbecue. You don't put like honey and all that sweet shit on there." And so we like get into this argument. I get into this argument with this guy that won't even fucking drink milk, but he's like defending Texas barbecue.
I'm sorry, but it's in my blood.
And then he goes into like chili. You can't put fucking beans in it. It's steak. I'm like, you don't eat it. He's like, I don't care. And I'm like, well, it's too fucking sweet anyway. Your chili probably sucks. Doesn't have enough vinegar.
And so we just got out of the car and started fist fighting.
Yeah, it really like got tense for a couple minutes. It was like, we can do this.
That's funny that persists. Even though it's just ingrained in there.
So I can come into his house and eat a chili dog and a Slim Jim in front of him, no problem. But if we talk about barbecue, shit starts to get a little tense.
You don't knock Dr. Pepper and you don't knock chili or barbecue.
Yeah, barbecue, chili, Dr. Pepper, and the Alamo are all, and Willie Nelson are off limits.
Off limits. You do that, it's on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. I think this wraps up the show.
Oh, good. I'm glad we ended it on a tense note.
Yes.
Don't fuck with Texas barbecue.
I gotta go out. So the reason we're in there, I gotta go out and kick his ass now.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, I enjoyed the hell out of talking to you tonight, brother.
Yeah, it was nice
thanks.
to meet you,
I'm glad y'all allowed me some airspace to make my noise.
Yeah, I'm glad you came on.
And you should send me some of if you're working with any bands in your area send me some of the stuff you're working on. I always like to hear what people are doing.
Okay. Well, I can send you some of Paul's stuff. He got 2 albums out recently.
Yeah, do that.
I mean, it's very.
Yeah, I do post, so it's mostly.
Yeah, I mean, it's very.
I find gems in the oddest places, so I always like to. And anything related to Jason is going to be odd. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks. And you know,
if I ever get around to recording anything,
which you should. I think everyone has a little. If you're motivated to do music at all, you have some little thing to contribute, and that should be recorded for posterity.
Yep. I'm working it out. I'm not too happy with my singing voice, but I'm working on it.
Well, believe you me, there are plenty of people who I guarantee you are a million times worse. So.
Well, Billy Corrigan comes to mind.
I was actually home for Christmas, and I did my little rendition of "The Times Are A-Changin'" by Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
And my wife's uncle goes, "Man, you sound better than Dylan." I was like, "Well, okay."
That's by default, but
yeah. Well, there you go.
So eventually, one day I'll learn how to play pedal steel guitar, and I'll be on somebody's album.
That's right.
See, now that would be well. If you learn how to play pedal steel guitar, I may figure out a way to
fly me down to Texas.
Or
now we have technology.
Make
now?
a stop on my way through.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome. Well, go visit thematthewshow.com. Listen to his music, buy his albums. He's very grateful for coming on the show. We are very grateful for coming on the show.
I'm actually going to go buy his albums when I leave here.
Yeah, it's good
Oh,
stuff.
good.
It's good stuff.
I'm a capitalist pig, so
That's right.
I appreciate you giving me some. What do you call that stuff that swine eat? Slop. I need some slop.
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 Oh, slop.
Coleslaw.
Coleslaw
Sorry.
it always goes on top of the Carolina barbecue.
Okay, we're gonna go fight.
So good, with just a steamed bun.
Jason, you kick his ass.
Yeah, whatever. You'd still be the 3rd largest state if you split Alaska.
Anyway, we're going downhill fast.
You've been listening to Zombie Popcorn Radio.
Zombie Popcorn Radio. Have a great night.
That was crazy, yo.
It was.
Shit like that.